Self-portrait as self. People keep coming up with uncommon ways to explain me. But mostly I just sit around wondering how a dime can keep its shine despite a lifetime spent burrowed into pockets. I can easily squander 40 days and 40 nights in the shower, imagining how a single drop of ink might insinuate itself into a sheet of paper. Some drops spread all over the place, like insincere waves patty-caking the shore, while others curl into balls as if they're trying to rock away every last sorrow, suffusing them like a shaming moon. After surrendering an entire winter waiting for wisteria pods to drop, this morning they systematically clack to the concrete, making of themselves a hazardous rain. They're hard as rulers, but still gussied up in green-gray fuzz, soft as the newly dead mouse I stroked with my finger, back when a body's stilled warmth could rapture without cracking me cleanly in two. Been kind of involved with a little bit of genealogy, as much as my lack of attention can deal with, and as a lot of people are. And there was a story from 1905 of Hot Springs, Arkansas. So 1905 of a young girl. She was 3.5, and she burned in the house due to a stove fire. And the story was of her and how her 13-year-old brother attempted to rescue her unsuccessfully from this fire. And it was 2 days before Christmas, and that 13-year-old boy was my grandfather. And it's a story I never knew, but it inspired me to write a poem. And the little girl's name was Adeline. Adeline, 1902 to 1905. I was before words, before flame lurched from the firebox and made of my nightdress ash, before Mama gone in innocence for the well and returned to her number fewer, bucket upturned, water a slur on the mudwood floor, before a boy's hands beating back blaze, hands like a bird's or butterfly wings, brother wearing me a lifetime, our flesh fused and curdled into his palms, before the silent, sooty drift. It was written, I did not endure, and here yet I stir. I was reminded that this weekend was the anniversary of the big snow that we had last year. And so, okay, well, I had to bring a winter poem. And looking at this poem, I thought, oh, you'd think it was written from a word list. It has boomerang, it has gazpacho, it has the 4th of July, it has a wedding dress, it has Santa Claus, and it has snow angels. So it wasn't from a word list, but so make of my mind what you will in the writing of this. Another poem about winter, which has hucked its icy boomerang and zeroed back in on unsuspecting us, just as we were getting used to nakedness again. Just as we'd finally caught the rhythm of the gazpacho chop, its brightness and bite and pure acid pleasure. There's a ding in the fender remaindered from October, and it's multiplying itself into oxidized stars. Like salt tossed onto new spritzed watercolor, like illegal fireworks left over from the 4th, bent-wicked and match-struck, and half the fun not knowing if you'll awaken in the morning with your fingers still attached. Oh, winter, when will you grow tired of yourself, mummified for months in a wedding dress, and everyone crabbing that you're the bad guest who will never go home? That ridiculous man in the skanky red suit tries to jiggle some levity into the deep and darkest days, but all he gets for his trouble is a lecture on obesity and a hike in his insurance rates for those risky rooftop landings. Bad lover winter, given the heave-ho for not trying, not even once, to change your wearisome ways. Then August finds us jonesing to be wrapped in your chill. A flop face first into snow, or a blind faint backward into ice-feathered fluff. Whoever falls for you has the makings of an angel. I do a lot of persona poems, and one of the individuals I've been interested in is a mermaid. And my mermaid is not of the water, she's of the land. She's been displaced and she's on dry land. So I brought a couple of mermaids for you. Mermaid consults a master gardener. Plow your hands in, she directs, and I do, bringing to air 2 fistfuls and a writhing in the gap between. I think gill net. I think propeller blade. But I'm not one to rock the boat. I open my fingers, black squirms and crumbles through. And something else familiar, a whiff of demise. Bone meal, she says, as in prayer. Fish emulsion. I hear capitals, the names like God. I had wanted only to transplant a sapling, conjure life from a bulb or two. By not tossing my bottles to the sea, from envy with newness. In these ways I have been green, all of me but my thumb. Mermaid regards her image on a tuna can. Once upon a time, my problem was a matter of larger than life. Once meaning not now. Time a way of disappointing yourself. And a problem's no more than what you made of it then. Now I'm diminished to less than an inch. You tell me when I went blonde. Teeth of an anchor woman, scepter glinting in paper gold. Rainbow above water, I'm a blue-suited body in ebb to green. The yellow tail fin is where it all fans out. The sea in this can, and I, its dependable chicken. I, mermaid, appear before the registrar of voters, who inquires about my party, and I explain this is a solemn duty, not some raucous celebration, who insists on declaration as R or D or I, and it's apparent that no one will advocate for me but I. I meaning isthmus under pressure from either side, iridescence dependent on apertures of light, indigo like the deep, implacable as the rock, irredeemable as imagination, inscrutable, ineligible. Okay, so I'm pretty excited. I dropped my clip twice. I have on my life list of places to be published, it's a short life list and it's yet to be filled, is a Tampa Review, which I've admired since the 90s. And I'm excited because this poem, or this work, was accepted, and it'll be in one of the next 2 issues. So I'm really excited about that. And it's a little different. It's, as Joan sort of mentioned, I collect things, and one of the things I'm interested in collecting are postcards. And what's written on the back of postcards, especially old ones, because I think that they're such an organic, compact form, and the pictures are wonderful. They take you back to a place, and what is it that someone chooses to write in that small square of what's on a postcard? And I've learned looking at, probably thousands of postcards that most of them are whether we got here safe and say hi to mom. So, I mean, it's really been a century of uninspired writing generally. So I sought to elevate the form, and I hope I've succeeded. I wrote a series of 20 postcards. I will not read them all. I'm only going to read 6. But I wrote a series of 20 postcards, and they're written by a fellow who is displaced, the theme. He's displaced in another city for work, and he's writing to the mysterious, enigmatic woman back home. Her name, who is here as E, only the letter. so I'll read some of his postcards back. E. The sky today is unhappy with me. The streets are full with dampened legs, tails of overcoats, umbrellas. I slosh my rummy boots through ruts and puddles. Peterson has me schlepping prints on city buses when a courier or computer file would do as well. I don't know how I continue here, except to say the blue between storms is extraordinary. I think of those old films, convicts chalking hash marks on damp prison walls. E. I've been thinking about trigonometry, the solvability of certain equations, arcs, planes, inverse functions. I cannot sort constants from variables. The Greek is Greek. Although it's a beautiful word, isn't it? Trigonometry. The mouth must pay attention when uttering it. There are other words too. The elocutions of science, for instance. How are your willows faring? Did the beetles eventually take them down? There is a curve I cannot calculate the area beneath. E. Forgive me. I haven't asked about the pains. Did they resolve? The corpse flower is in bloom in the gardens here. By the time this finds you, its cycle will be done. 18,000 queued up to see it, or smell if they'd admit to their desires being so base. I've kept my distance, the lines, geodesic heat, all that wretched curiosity. I inherited a jade plant which slumps on my windowsill. I must remember to water it. Its pudgy petals are wrinkling. Petals? E. Do you ever look at a map, wonder who is living exactly your life, only somewhere else? Someplace with claws and teeth far different than the ones dug deeply into you? I had a little scare, sidewalk, and a fall. It wasn't a trip. One woman who saw it said it looked like I drifted to sleep right there while I was walking. Another kept trying to dust my knees. I simply can't remember. The signals here go from left to right, not top to bottom. Red, yellow, green. Sometimes they skip the yellow altogether. E. I bought flowers. Yes, flowers. Exotic ones, lime green, with odd speckles and knobby things. There was some crinkly plastic and a rubber band wrapped around, but holding them just so had them dripping up my shirt sleeve. I was damp all morning. That cloying chill. I left them on Fitzpatrick's desk. He spent the day wondering. It's a strange wind this evening. Dry hot, like that time in Palermo. E. There exists at last the possibility of my return. Imagine an embossed envelope in my hand. It's flat yet unsealed. It's true that absence has been my malaise, but there are also these things. A bench in the Athenaeum that has taken on the shape of me. Checker mallows in the botanical garden. A curious engagement with minerals, their crystalline incarnations. The charts and maps at the Historical Society, brittleness and the necessity of gloves. A taste for confections. A woman wrapped in arias who speaks to me in two languages at once. Dear E, there is so much I have not told you. And so, I was kind of inspired to do these little groupings tonight, just because of thinking of the three of us reading together, and we're a grouping of friends, and the friendships that all have formed in this poetry community. So that's kind of mostly how it's put together tonight. And this small series is kind of an evolving series, and it involves a dinner service. And you think you go, and there are the plates and the dishes and the gravy boat and the wine glasses and whatever else there are. And sometimes I think, all of these things are there for a purpose, but at the same time they also have their own lives and existence or their own meaning in and of themselves. So I'm interested in that particularity. So I brought a few of those to share with you. The first one is called tablecloth. Tablecloth. You know that old trick, grasping one edge and jerking it so fast and clean that the plates and glasses remain in place. Just an afterthought of shimmer left to record the stun. We think of it as magic, but what hasn't been yanked from beneath us, and still we're left standing? Goblet. Hand cupped beneath as if to cradle some other precious thing. Ripened peach, river gold, her one remaining breast. Bread basket. Oh, wheat fields. Oh, amber waves. Oh, your genetically modified goldenings. Unsheathed, unchaffed, Deared and Alice Chalmers, the lobotomized drift and grind of you, breakfast of champions, crop circles spelling wonder, pizza dough, bread dough, donut dough, dough and more dough. Your heady rise, such steam and precariousness. And hay, while the sun shines, our hands steady tearing into you. You can't have a bread basket without a butter knife. Butter knife. You've tried, but this knife doesn't cut it. The mustard, to the chase, to the quick, and dried and run, and hasn't this been the story of your life? Fragment and disconnect, lever and blunt blade. At last, at least, you've managed to wrap your hand around it, though you should have known by now not to expect otherwise. The iced resistance, bits and pieces congealing in a pile, always this dull thing you spread yourself thin with. And finally, coffee pot. Strength versus weakness and bitterness ever the verboten subject. Here we go again, message doppelganged with messenger. Can't we just pour ourselves out for once, allow the blackness to steep unsugared? This next poem, I'm going to read. I'm going to read this for Dennis Gould and Quentin Hallett for the occasion of my 60th birthday. They commissioned from Sandy Tilcock. They commissioned from Sandy Tilcock to make a broadside of this poem, and it was an enormous gift. There are some back there. And it was actually turned out to be the last project that Sandy completed before she moved her press to Bisbee, Arizona. So I was honored with this very great large gift, and I was honored to be the last in Sandy's Eugene line. So for Quentin and Dennis, I read Box of Rocks. Halfway beneath a table, lid torn back, $2 scrawled in black marker on the side. These yard sale rocks, heavy as regret. $2, the price of an accumulation. Scumbled with mud, collaged in dry leaf, bits of cobweb, the lost wings of insects. They glint like old loves, rugged stars. They too had lives once, arrived in this unlikely place because someone spotted a moon in them, because a hand reached out and said, you. Oh, to have been the one chosen, the hurried heartbeat of that. Dimple, curvature, and angle of polish. A palm that curled itself around our shape and in its closing became our shape. To have come through the tumbling. And then this hardness we were shouldered into, the dismal weight of us. Lid folded down, the cardboard darkness, our hearts ticking one against another. It's the heartbeat. I was in Charleston, South Carolina, not very long ago, and this poem about a bird came to me afterward, and this poem actually appears in the current, which is the autumn 2019 issue of Gettysburg Review, so I'm pretty enthusiastic about that. And it's called Boat-tailed Grackle. The boy asks if I can name the bird. What bird? He points at iridescence pecking the muck, black, blue, green, purple poking the slow, lapping slime of the battery rocks. We're leaning on forearms on the harbor wall. Charleston, early season, weather mild and languid, hospitable. That I didn't spot the bird proves I don't know anything at all. But the boy doesn't see this. Maybe it's the gadget I'm holding, an actual camera with an actual lens. Or could be that the breeze-battered map half stuffed in my pocket doesn't conjure tourist, but a traveler who's arrived with some loftier purpose. I have no idea. It's all speculation. Out at the fort, unseen across the watery distance, the flag at half-staff whips and snaps. Someone important has died, but we don't know that yet. It's just the two of us and the bird, which in this instant ascends from the rocks to land on a post and show off his colors a few feet from me. He's a bird. He's not showing off anything. The camera's zoom hums out and in, focusing. The shutter clicks. The boy asks again if I can name the bird. And I think here we'll have our two-poem warning. Continuing with the birds. Nesting. June, and the insatiable starlings just outside our bedroom window are raising their second batch of babies this season. Rackety blusterers tucked into the eaves of the house next door. Mornings at sunup, the nest is a tumult of appetite and squawk. Evenings, in the melancholy low light of the just set sun, the drama recycles, cacophony, then a quiet. The outcome is not so different from the creation. How the light turns and a hunger rises, sound becomes us, and then there is the silence. And to warm us into spring, first mowing. The back fence neighbor is mowing his lawn. Seasonal slew, his boots bogged to the ankles. Suddenly, inexplicably, I desire this too. I step up to my yard and move into the grass. Remind me what it is I thought I despised. The lawn's luminous fronds, dauntless stalks succulent from immeasurable rain, the holy mud they thrive in, chlorophyll so indecent it takes my breath. How it stains, oh the green, glorious stain.